Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Judy, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm going to put mine on mute now. I just want to make sure I could hear you too.
Okay, we haven't started the meeting yet. Once we do, we'll go live on mics.
How close are we? What time is it?
Oh, it's very close.
Okay,
2
thanks.
minutes. All right.
Now we're on.
Oh, I heard it up there. I'm on my laptop. Oh. Oh, Shelley Heller added notes to the, like the.
Oh, so that was Shelley, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, she
usually watches.
Yeah, or she'll come in.
What do we want to do here? What's interesting? Should we call Paula?
We could call her office, yeah.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do not.
Does anybody have Paula's cell phone number?
Nope.
It's in that book, Katie. The front page.
Well, I don't think we should do like the priorities with half the board not here, with Charlie not here. Okay,
Because maybe we just table it for next.
please. Yeah, I don't want to get in a fight over that, but I think that's a good idea.
Where, okay, then.
Well, then you can go longer, Dan.
Oh, boy.
We can get to hear all about it.
I was just thinking you were here or coming. Perfect, we will wait for you.
No,
I can talk about sewage as much as stuff you have here. Trust me.
I'm a dairy farmer. It's not new to
Oh,
me.
okay, okay.
No, that's all right. That's fine. It's okay, we'll wait a couple minutes for you to get here.
She's always late.
All right, no big deal. Today, Miss Judy Gifford is here, Miss Sandy Scott is here, Miss Judy Crow is online, Charlie is not coming, Mr. Story is not coming, and we have not seen David Bowman yet. Okay? No, you're okay. We'll see you shortly. All right. Miss Judy, Paula is like 2 minutes out, so we're gonna wait for her.
Okay, thanks.
She said, I'm 2 blocks away. She said the meeting's at 3:30, right? I was like, no, it's 3:30.
30?
Yeah.
She's been on the board for like 2
I
years.
don't know.
Over 2 years.
She said she's 2 blocks away, so I said, well, we'll wait, just because she's chair today. So if you guys are okay with waiting.
Yeah,
That's fine.
we're gonna cut it short anyhow, unless we have a lot of sewer.
Yeah.
You don't, and that's what we're here to talk
There you
about.
go. Well, Paula had a lot of questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the staff report and Shallon's gonna do the scorecard presentation. What we might do is answer like any questions we can, but maybe just ask mostly to hold your questions till the end. And then also too, maybe if there's a lot of questions, we can make note of them and then report back on them next meeting. This is scorecard's a little lengthy.
I'm sure we can, yeah, the report is, I mean, I'm gonna zoom through it. It's the same one we did. You were on it last year, right? Yeah, I was gonna say it's the same one. I thought so.
Do you want me to pull that mic up for Dan?
Where do you want to sit? Do you want to sit over here or do you want us to come up to the table? I mean, we're gonna have room.
Or do you wanna go over, do you have charts?
I just have a map.
Maybe over there so we can see it better?
Yeah, that's great. I can stand at the mic if that's the easiest way.
Oh, that'd be good.
We'll just have to turn it on. When it's your turn, we go here. Thank you.
There's nothing too magical about this map. It's a
Love
little
it.
dated anyways, so don't quote any of the, that's not blocking it.
That'd be
No.
good.
Here, I'll just do that.
Maybe have an angle from the table over.
That's right here.
Hi.
There we go.
You're okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's good.
Sandy, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Had my post-op today and cleared, so I can drive again. so.
Yay.
How'd you get here? How'd you get here?
I drove, because I had my appointment this morning
Oh,
in Easton.
oh, in
And
Easton.
she said,
I
"You
bet
cleared
you
to drive." I was
cheated.
like, okay.
I was anyhow, no.
Actually, I haven't been,
Good for you.
because my husband's
Are you
been
ready to go?
around.
He's been
so,
here.
Yeah.
Mics, you guys can turn your mics on.
Yep.
You got that one, Katie?
Okay. We don't, is Judy online?
Judy is online.
Okay, so we have 4.
Yes.
So we have a quorum.
Yes.
So has everybody, I'll call the meeting to order. It's 3:08. And our next line of business is to approve the minutes from March 12th. Has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes?
David Bowman is trying to get in.
You can admit.
Okay.
David? Okay.
Afternoon.
Hi. We're on minutes approval for March 12th. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? Judy?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
David?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Are there any changes?
Make a motion.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Sandy. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
So moved. Chairman's report is fairly brief. I'm sorry to advise that Dick Story has submitted his resignation As everyone, I think, is aware, Dick has been valiantly fighting some serious health issues and has decided to enter hospice. He has been, for many years here, an inspirational and instructional leader of this group and has provided many, he's made many contributions to the work of this commission. He will be sorely missed, and I ask that everyone keep him in your thoughts and your prayers as we go forward. The other thing I have to announce today is that on April 16th, the nominating committee, which is comprised of Charlie, myself, and David, will be interviewing a number of candidates for open seat appointments, and following those interviews, we will make recommendations based on the results of the interviews. With that, I guess you all know that Jamie's not with us today because she's attending the National Main Street Conference in Philadelphia, where I'm sure she'll get a lot of very interesting and useful information. With that, we're pleased to have Dan with us today. And he's going to fill us in on water sewer capacity and public works issues.
Thank you.
Which we're most interested to hear.
So can they see the map?
They cannot right now. What I can do is I can email Shallon or whoever, James, anyone, a copy of this map so you all can have it.
Copy of this map,
Yep.
yes.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. So for those who may not know me, my name is Dan Mattson. I'm the Director of Public Works for Kent County, and learn more and more every day just how interconnected we are to all the different departments, especially economic and tourism development, as interesting as that may or may not sound. So Jamie had asked me to come today and talk for a few minutes about our current constraints on economic development as they relate to public works, and how we're looking to improve the condition and rectify some of the issues we have. So the main topic today will be water and wastewater capacity within the county. But before I get too far into the weeds with that, I figured I'd do a quick Sewer 101 to make sure that everyone understands the language I'm using. Nothing we're doing is rocket science. There's really not splitting the atom here, but there are some, industry terms and jargon that I want to make sure if I use it, you guys know what I'm talking about. Then I'll get into, I brought a map of the county's sewer areas that those in person can see. Just talk through the different sewage service areas we have in the county, as well as, intended growth or usage of what is not currently allocated. And then finally, I'll close with probably what everyone's most interested in, discussion on 1.5, I guess, projects, or one big and one small project we have on the very near horizon. The first of which is Village of Kennedyville, and the second is the Millington Development Project. I don't know if it has one big word, but it starts with the development of a new wastewater treatment plant for Millington. So as I mentioned, Sewer 101, people are probably familiar with terms like allocations or EDUs. Those two terms are somewhat interchangeable to the average person. In order, if you live or want to build within a sewer service area, you need to get an allocation from the county. That gives you the right to access our water and sewer network. Some properties have just water or just sewer. Some people have both opportunities, and obviously the water is in lieu of putting in a private well. The sewer is in lieu of an on-lot septic system. If you live within or you intend to build within one of our sewer or water service areas, you basically have to connect. You would need some very extreme extenuating circumstances to avoid being compelled to connect in order to build. And an allocation is just that. It's a portion of our capacity being allocated to a given property. The industry term is EDU, which is equivalent dwelling unit. every allocation is one EDU. An EDU represents 250 gallons per day of usage. That is what MDE, and not just Maryland, but generally across the board, considers to be the average usage for a given single-family house. So when we talk,
No kids, it doesn't matter, just a single-family house.
a single-family house gets one EDU, 250 gallons per day. Frankly, that number is high. Most houses don't use 250 gallons per day. We have some ongoing conversation outside of just Kent County, really statewide, about possibly changing and lowering that number, which would certainly potentially benefit both development as well as the county. It could make things cheaper for developers to connect. It would also give us a more accurate representation of what we should actually expect coming into our plants for treatment. There's a lot of factors of safety involved when calculating sewer flow. We don't build the church for Easter Sunday. In other words, we don't anticipate everyone on the system flushing their toilet at the same time. That would be a problem, but the chances of that happening are basically zero. It is good to think of these type of things similar to, there's not much difference between a sewer pipe and a highway. Everyone's familiar with rush hour traffic. Well, there's kind of rush hour traffic with our sewer pipes. It's just typically in residential areas about an hour before the rush hour on the roads, and in commercial areas about an hour after the rush hour on the roads. I think you can all put together why. But in general, it's the peak hours of time. We have to plan for peak hour usage, which is why, as I said, 250 is kind of higher than almost any house would use in a given day, but we plan with certain factors of safety involved into those numbers per Maryland Department of Environment guidelines.
Dan, can I ask you just a translation question?
Yes.
Oftentimes, when lots are being developed, they talk about the number of bedrooms that are appropriate for the lot or allowed, the maximum number of bedrooms. How does that translate into the 250 gallons?
You are reading my mind, because the next thing I wanted to mention is, for a single-family house, when we think about these things, a single-family house is going to use more water and sewer than a business would typically, outside of maybe a gym. And it certainly will use more than a one-bedroom apartment would. So MDE has certain standards where a one-bedroom apartment is equivalent to, I forget, maybe 0.7 houses. I forget exactly offhand. So if you're building a 10-unit, one-bedroom apartment building, you wouldn't need 10 EDUs. You certainly need more than one, but you wouldn't need 10, and there's conversion factors and things like that. When it comes to single-family dwellings, the county's policy is that one EDU, which is one allocation you have to buy, gets you 4 bedrooms. It's based on bedrooms, not bathrooms, which takes a minute to kind of work its way through your brain to understand, but it doesn't matter how many toilets are in a house, it matters how many people are using the toilets. So we base that off of bedrooms. And again, we have to assume that, that's a guest room. Well, we have to account for the day that all your guests are here. So one allocation is 4 bedrooms in a regular house. And if you look to go beyond that, we do offer half allocations. We really don't break it down more than that. But if you have a 4-bedroom house, you want to build an additional bedroom or 2 additional bedrooms, we can offer half of an EDU as opposed to a whole EDU or allocation. That benefits the customers, obviously, because it's half the cost for half of the allocation. It benefits us because, again, we don't want to overestimate what's coming to our plant, because then that would artificially restrict how much we can allow in the future. So we need an accurate representation of how many EDUs, how much sewage flow is planned to get to the plant, and then we also need how much the plant is actually processing, and that gives us a good idea of where we are on the daily basis, as well as at our maximum, at our rush hour peak traffic, going down the shore on a Friday in the summer, using the traffic analogy, we do have to plan for that. There's also 2 different kinds of capacity that we have to manage. Obviously, everything I've talked about so far generally is capacity at a treatment plant. The plant is designed for this many gallons per day of treatment. We can't go over that. We also need to worry about each individual pipe between a person's house, a business, and the plant. So there is capacity limits in each one of those pipes. I know with, for example, Tolchester, there are some areas that have relatively small 2 to 4 inch conveyance pipes, and those can obviously hold less than a 6 inch pipe can. And we do have those pipe networks modeled so that if someone is proposing a house on a given lot, I can plug that in to the equation based on all the other houses around it and make sure that that pipe itself will not be overwhelmed. But yeah, assuming you can clear both the hurdles with the conveyance and the treatment, you apply to the commissioners for, you apply to the Department of Water and Sewer for an allocation. We make sure there is capacity recommended to the commissioners. Commissioners approve it. We prepare a PWA, a Public Works Agreement, about the fees associated with it, the requirements for the construction of the connection, long-term maintenance, things like that. The property owner would come in and sign that Public Works Agreement, and then it goes back to the commissioners one more time as a consent item. It's basically a formality to get them to sign off on the agreement as well. Once that agreement's signed, the allocation fee is paid at the time of signature. Once we have all those in, you're free to construct. When you go to construct a building, a house, et cetera, anything that's being connected to the sewer, from the time the PWA is signed until your connection is actually made and active, we assess what we call a vacant lot fee, which is basically half of the quarterly charges for an active connection. So we get, applications that anything can happen during construction. Funding could fall through, there could be a project delay, whatever. We give them a 2-year grace period where we say you have 2 years or until the time which we sign off on the connection where you'll be assessed the 1/2 fee before we start charging your full usage fees. And there are certain areas in the county like Galena where we've gotten state money to expand the system, and we have people who have been on vacant lot fees for longer, and we're getting strong encouragement from the state to compel them to connect to our system because that was part of the grant agreement in the first place.
How much is the fee?
An allocation fee for water and sewer is $16,200. I believe sewer itself is $11,800, which would mean water is 4,200 or 4,400. I want to say 16.2. I know is the combined. And again, some lots are sewer only lots. Mm-hmm. It depends on the systems we have built and what's planned in the future. So on the map, which again I can distribute to the people who aren't on the call, it just shows the different sewer service areas within the county. Some of them are owned by towns, some of them are owned purely by the county, and there's a decent amount that are kind of a mix. So Betterton, for example, that is a totally independent system. That is the town of Betterton's system. Their conveyance pipes, their treatment plant, they manage, they operate it. Rock Hall, Chestertown, and Millington are different because while those towns own their plants, we have agreements in place that we basically pay proportionally for all the operation and maintenance costs. We look at, for example, I think it's Millington right now, I want to say it's about a 60-40 split, and a lot of these numbers I'm saying are generalized, so don't quote me on a specific 60-40 split when I say that, but it's about 60-40 where I think the town has 60% of the total allocations that are active, and we have 40% that are active. So when all the bills are due, we divide up the costs according to that 60-40 split for maintaining the plant, for costs to the infrastructure, et cetera. The conveyance pipes within the town are owned by the town. All the pipes and pump stations outside of the town are owned by the county. And we have good working relationships with those towns to ensure service. In that type of scenario, the county is responsible for collecting all fees from county customers, and the town basically sees the county as a customer with many, many allocations. So they just send the county a bill, and we're responsible for doing all the work on our end to collect from our customers in order to pay that bill. But if for some reason we couldn't, we're still responsible for paying the town. The town of Galena is a little different. It's kind of in between Betterton and the other towns where we do have a small portion of county contribution. They do own their plant, but they basically contract the county for the great deal of their maintenance and operation of their plant. So that one is a little unique where they're more independent, but also, we don't contribute as much, but we do a lot more. We just invoice them for all the work we do to their system. And then there's a number of purely county systems, Tolchester, Wharton, Kennedyville, that we fully own, operate, and maintain. On that map that I brought today, there are some numbers that related to available EDUs in the system. At the bottom right, there's a big disclaimer, that's December 2020. I don't have a more recent printout, and I don't, off the top of my head, I can't give you specific numbers in a given system. I do know generally, for example, Tolchester, I know we have, and Wharton, we have a wealth of EDUs. Kennedyville, for example, I think that says 30-something. I believe we have about 45 EDUs available, which is almost exactly how much is proposed in Phase 2 of the Village of Kennedyville development subdivision. So moving on to, specific developments, Kennedyville, we met about February 2024 with the commissioners regarding the matter because basically there's 43 lots to be developed in that neighborhood, which the county currently owns. And there's just barely more than that left in the treatment plant. And it was decided that we would prioritize completing the Village of Kennedyville project as opposed to holding off on that and looking for greater development within the region. We have something that's, basically on a platter, ready to go. Let's get an interested developer and get them to fill it out and then worry about the next big developer that comes in financing growth. And then on that note too, I should mention allocation fees. The idea behind them is that they are growth. They are adding to our system. The fees themselves should fund whatever infrastructure improvements are needed to support that growth. Sewer and water rates are designed and calculated based on maintenance of the system we have. So the active users, in theory, should pay for what is required to maintain their current service. New connections should pay for, in addition to what they will use, the allocation fee that represents, costs of infrastructure improvements. Obviously, we can't do much in the construction industry for $16,000, but with Kennedyville, we have 43 lots. That's over $600,000. That buys us the new pump station we know we need in the system to support this development. That's the idea behind allocation fees. They support the growth. They fund the improvements related to growth, whereas rates fund improvements related to maintenance.
Do the rates change, or
Every year, most years.
they go up as it gets older?
Yes, as the county just recently completed or is finalizing right now a allocation fee and rate study. There's no firm recommendation at this time, although they did come to yesterday's budget workshop with the commissioners. I believe that's available on the county's YouTube page. They proposed a couple different scenarios. Historically, the county has worked towards a 4% annual increase, which really, in a good year does a little more than offset inflation. In a year like we're seeing, last year and this year, I'm not sure it even keeps up. Historically, because of economic climates, the county has gone less than 4%. They've actually reduced rates in the last 10 years. That certainly is quite the balancing act, and I don't envy the role of the people who have to make those decisions because it's basically a tug of war between you guys and me. Everything's costing more to fix, everything's costing more to replace, to improve, but the more expensive I make it, the less anyone's going to want to build or live here. And that's, a very intricate balancing act we have to coordinate, and ultimately is a decision of the commissioners to make.
Are all the
For
fees
maintenance.
quarterly?
Yes, water and sewer fees are quarterly. We establish a 12,000 gallon per quarter baseline, and then every, I believe, 100 gallons over that you go in a quarter, there is an incremental rate that gets added And that does a couple things. It encourages some reduction in total water usage, or at least limiting it per household. It recoups any additional stuff, any additional usage, the costs associated with that, because in theory, every gallon that comes out of your water will need to be treated. That's not the reality, as we all know. You water your plants or your lawn, that's not going to the sewer plant, but we don't really have a better way of calculating sewer flows other than the water usage.
So is there money from the rate increases that's set aside to maintenance fund, or do you just, how do you fund maintenance?
It entirely goes to supporting the water and sewer,
And
maintenance.
is it matching, or,
No, we run, year to year, it depends, but we run on a subsidy from the county. So the benchmark in the last few years has been about 30%
subsidy?
subsidized by the county
The
commissioners.
same, I mean, it's all our money, right?
It is, although I know,
Understand, yeah.
if you live in a sewer area,
Right.
yes, it is. If you
Right.
don't live in a sewer area, I can completely understand
Right.
someone objecting to subsidizing, but we geographically, it's very difficult
Yeah.
because we have a lot of small areas that are very spread out. The topography of the county does us no favors. Sewer, like everything else, it flows downhill. If we have big, long, flat stretches, we can't do gravity flow. We have to do pressurized flow, which is why a lot of people have grinder pumps, or there's large pump stations. And every pump we put in the ground is a pump we have to replace, is a pump that will break sooner or later, is a risk during storms. So we look for any and all opportunities to use gravity flow, but predominantly what you see throughout the county is a grinder pump system where everyone has a small pump on their property that pumps it into the larger force main, with an occasional large pump station along the way to get it if there's an uphill run towards a plant.
Dan, what is the total number of EDUs that are available, and how do they break down between the incorporated towns and the other areas?
I'd have to get back to you on specifics. I know that there are some areas, like I mentioned, Wharton and Tolchester have a good availability. I believe Chestertown is close to maxed out, at least for the county's portion of it. I don't want to speak for their plant itself, but I know for what for county land's contribution, it's about maxed out. I can't give you too many specifics. I haven't had to, in the 2 years I've been here, deny someone because there wasn't capacity, I'll say. But to that point, I will transition to Millington a little bit, because that is, from my perspective, the largest potential for growth within the county by far. Millington, right now, they own their own wastewater plant and water plant, but the conveyance extends into the county, so we have county service areas tying into Millington where they treat it. Right now, that plant is at about 80% capacity, and we have, between the Millington Senior Village project, the Everton warehouses, and a couple other known contributors within the next year or so, will push us well above 85%. 85% is a magic number, because at 85% capacity, you can go back to people who have bought allocations but have never connected. And you can recoup the allocations that were committed to them if they haven't been connected for a certain number of years, and we're at 85% capacity. They don't get refunded for it. If you've had it for 5 years and you haven't connected, I'm sorry, is the answer, basically. At the commissioner's discretion, of course. It's not something I just go rogue and do myself. But we're at the point now where the capacity is so limited, or will be very shortly so limited, that we would potentially need to start recouping from unused allocations. Even that's a very finite resource, and obviously no one wants to take anything away. So we are in the process right now. We're at about 90% on the design of a new wastewater treatment plant in Millington. That is going to be located on county land as opposed to the town. So we would be taking ownership away from the town, as has been discussed 100 times over with the town. And we would basically put a pump station where the current treatment plant is, so all the pipes that are in place would still lead to there, and then get pumped to the new plant, which will be located off of 291, which, once you go through the circles, is not Morg Neck Road anymore. I think it's River Road or Cypress.
Cypress.
Yep, if you're going eastbound towards Millington, you see the food line on your left, then there's a big farm field. At the eastern edge, the far edge of that farm field, tucked into the tree line, is our location of our new plant. And we've been working with a number of developers, including the owner of that property itself, which is part of a much larger 90-something acre parcel, to coordinate what we intend to, the sizing of the plant, the layout of the conveyance with future development. We've been applying for every grant and funding opportunity we can. We've gone to Army Corps of Engineers, federal, the congressional and Senate earmarks. We've had a number of different discussions. MDE we're going to for some funding as well. And then ultimately, anything we can't get, we'd fall back on USDA to fund. But that plant itself right now is about 90,000 gallons per day. 90,000, so if you divide that by 250, that would tell you about the amount of allocations total. And we're getting close to the edge of it. The new plant we're putting in, day one, will have 350,000. So we're talking almost 4 times our current usage right now would be the capacity of the plant on day one. And as I said, that big farm field right next to the Food Lion, there's some developers that have pretty significant plans for a mix of commercial, residential, possibly mixed use up through that whole area. You know, in my pitches, in the meetings I've had, and the grants I've helped write, you know, I look at this truly as there's a booming development that's gone for over a decade right across the state line in Middletown. No one says we want that kind of development in that style, in that fashion here in Kent County, but what that tells me is there's no reason that can't spill across the state lines, except for the fact that we can't offer them sewer connections. So it's, we do have interest in the development, and I really see this wastewater treatment plant as the key that unlocks really the biggest development we could hope for in the county. It's conveniently located next to the 301 corridor. It has the traffic. Something I say a lot to as I learn more and more about the county is, you know, you don't really get here unless you're trying to be here. It's hard to pass through Kent County, and Millington's the exception for that. And it's the most accessible, whether you work in, I live in Wilmington, Delaware. It's very accessible if you work in Wilmington, if you're down, you know, Dover area. It's off of Middletown, which is as I mentioned, booming. It's a highly attractive area for development, but again, it's the wastewater treatment plant, I think primarily, that is holding it back. So that project itself is about 95% complete with the design. The county is actively in negotiation to purchase the property from the current owner that the plant will go on. And actually, we've worked with the county, the current property owner, which is, I believe, called Millington Crossing Associates. And we also teamed up with the Millington Senior Village Project. Long, complex discussion, but in short, we know we need to get rid of the dirt on our site to bring it down to the correct elevation. We know that Millington Senior Village needs to raise their site up a bit, actually related to getting gravity flow sewer. And when you have that scenario with 2 projects in close proximity, it's a lot less expensive for every party, including the contractor, to remove it from one, bring it to the other, as opposed to going to a quarry and buying dirt. I'm trying to get rid of it, you're trying to buy it. Let's make a deal. And we were able to do that recently after some extensive negotiations, and that is actually under construction right now, where we have a cost share with the 3 parties to set the baseline earthwork and bring our site to the appropriate grade. Doing work now is cheaper than doing it later, and not paying a disposal site to get rid of our perfectly good dirt. I'm an engineer, I should say soil, but it's mutually beneficial to all parties, and we're very excited that's getting moving as well. I think that was also the owner of Millington Crossing of the property actually is contributing a decent amount of funds to it as well, because I think they're in active talks with other developers that want to see progress on the site. And I think that when they see the investment the county is making right now, as well as the property transaction, it's going to show, demonstrate our commitment to the project.
Question about that. Are any of your funds that you've anticipated bringing in to pay for all of this at risk with the the federal government pause, cancellation of grants? And the state's also going to be facing some additional issues because of cancellation of federal dollars flowing to the state. Wondering how much that might affect your schedule and your funding.
You ask some fantastic questions because, yeah, it is a concern. No money we have currently obligated to the project is considered at risk. You know, we received almost $1 million from the Upper Shore Regional Council, the MDE, I think like 3 or 4 different funding sources, all related to funding the design, the study, which turned into the design, as well as the acquisition of the property. All of that money I would consider safe. We have a number of requests and applications outstanding. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about how much money will be there. We can always fall back. USDA does very low interest 40-year loans, which have been used in the past to fund projects of this size. I mean, the current estimate is around $16 million. So it's not a small endeavor, and I don't think anyone would disagree that the county can't afford to pay that cash right now, while maintaining all of our other services. So we are waiting to hear back from different funding agencies. Once design's complete, there is a permitting process associated with it. It's tough to really give a timetable on when we'd actually start construction, but assuming that we are as involved as we've been led to believe by Congressman Harris as well as our senators, I could see it starting construction around fiscal year 27, which would be July of next year. The construction timeline is 18 to 24 months, but with that said, I've already had multiple developers approach me with the idea of reserving capacity at the plant, basically prepaying for their allocations to help fund this project. And that's something we're actively working towards, and I don't think anyone's really ready to do that until we have a fully designed and permitted project. So that's probably months out, not years. But that would also be a funding stream that could help support the project. If, someone wants to build 100 houses, maybe they aren't going to offer all 100 prepaid, but 25 would go a long way at the current rate, which we're also pondering as part of the recent study increasing. So, yeah, it's definitely, to answer your question specifically, there are concerns. We are leveraging every opportunity we have right now. And I haven't seen or ever heard of a scenario where we get a funding commitment that is contracted and then pulled. When we received the ARPA, the American Recovery Plan Act money, there was a funding deadline, and they said if you don't get all your funds allocated or committed under contract by December 31st, 2024, you're at risk to lose them. And we worked hard to make sure we had every penny under contract prior to that deadline. So, yeah,
So you're not worried that the same thing could happen to you that's happened to the teacher training funds?
I have outstanding grant applications. I don't have grants in hand for the construction yet. If I had grants in hand, I'd have some concern about them. That's fair to say.
Or if you've already spent the money?
Yes, yeah. Well, one thing we do know with the funding streams we've gone for is they will not pay for work completed. So it would be for new work. So the earthwork I mentioned is being funded by the county, possibly offset depending on the acquisition number, the property sale cost. We might be able to divert some money into it. But yeah, we have all of the money that we have in hand has been committed to either design, property acquisition, legal fees, things like that associated. But yeah, the drying up of state and federal money is a concern for the project. However, understanding the importance of this project to the county, My personal opinion and belief is that we'll pursue whatever funds we don't get to make up the difference via USDA funding. And that I have not heard any serious concerns about drying up or disappearing. They're a long-standing program, and it appears that regardless of political lean, people tend to support USDA.
Thank you.
And that's really, I mean, that's Millington in a nutshell. We have some concept plans. I don't know how much have actually made it to you guys' office at all, and I haven't been told that any of it's confidential, so I can certainly pass some of it along.
I'm sure Jamie would love that.
Yeah, I mean, it has some basic street layouts and some shaded areas of we intend this to be residential versus we intend this to be commercial or potential mixed use, things like that. But it's, there are some developers putting some good money into planning out what they can do as soon as they, like I said, we get the key to unlock this area, which is the wastewater treatment plant. I mentioned Kennedyville before. Right now, we have prepared a master public works agreement that outlines everything we expect a developer to complete associated with that project, as well as bonding requirements and timelines associated with all those items. That was really, I wasn't here for when that project was started or the bumps along the road that's had, but I understand that there were issues with maybe insufficient bondings being posted, as well as not writing into contracts specific timelines. So the way we're trying to do this is we're going to put this out to public bid for any interested developer. And when I say that there are interested developers, they remind me of that every week, that it's not on the street yet. But we'll advertise this public works agreement that'll say, you need to pay all of your sewer and water allocation fees upfront, as opposed to when houses are connected. You need to complete all the streets, the water and sewer infrastructure pipes to the houses, the street lights, the pocket parks, everything on the plans that is to be publicly dedicated in no more than 5 years. And 100% of a cost that they propose and we agree with will be posted in bonding, so that if we get a developer that goes belly up, we have the money set aside to complete the project. At least build the roads, build all the infrastructure, the electric conduits, the water sewer lines, so that worst case scenario, smaller developers could come in and build a house here or a house there. That's not what we're looking for with the current project. We want a larger scale developer that has the capability and funding to come in and build this in one shot, at least the infrastructure side. The houses, we can't really dictate. You need to build 5 houses a year because that's their pro forma, that's their calculus with their money. But the biggest problem with it right now is, we can't build half the houses because all the roads aren't built and the sewer pipes aren't laid, the water pipes aren't in the ground. So there's only a handful of buildable lots today. And the idea is we'll put that whole thing out to public bid and receive proposals from contractors or developers agreeing to A, pay for everything we've told them they have to pay for, B, do it on our timelines, and C, we'll see any additional money they would offer to make their bid stand out, and finally, qualifications, experience, financial statements, and then we would do what we call a qualitative bid, where most of our bids for the county, you get to whoever's going to charge you the least, it's quantitative. This would be qualitative, where it's not purely money driven. We would look at the entire picture of who's offering to be our developer for the project and score it based on our faith that we can get it done appropriately.
Are you stipulating any criteria relative to affordable housing?
No, there is an approved plan through the Planning and Zoning Office for that project, and we are holding them to complete that plan or buy the property knowing that they have to complete that within 5 years and then attempting to make modifications to it. But the county isn't requiring any specific sale price for a house or meeting low or moderate criteria necessarily.
One other question. If you put this out for bid and you require the developer to do all the infrastructure construction, are you setting any requirements relative to their charging back prospective homeowners through a front foot fee assessment arrangement.
I'm not sure I understand the front foot.
There's a section in another Chestertown development where the developer put in the roads, put in the lead pipes, and the homeowners are assessed an annual fee relating to those improvements.
Oh, okay, okay,
And it's a part of their deed.
okay. That is not in any of the documents we've prepared so far. The final contracts would be prepared and vetted by the county attorney, and that's definitely something
Well, I think this is something that the developer would, might
imposed on.
insist on.
Yep. That's a great question. Okay. Thank you. So with all that said, that's where we stand from a public works perspective.
Great.
If there's any other questions?
Are there any questions from anybody who's online?
No, not for me. Thank you.
For me, thanks.
Okay, great presentation, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, moving right along.
I do need to go pick up children.
Doing the 2024.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually run through the staff report first, and then we will do the scorecard presentation.
Okay, I'll leave it to you.
All right. So as Paula mentioned, Jamie's at the Main Street, National Main Street Conference in Philadelphia with Lori Walters of Rock Hall Main Street, and then also with Sunny and Kristen of Main Street Chestertown. And as far as we know, they're having a blast. So we're excited to hear how all of that went when they get back. Shallon's working with a few stakeholders to review destination marketing. She'll be holding a brainstorm session with Judy Crow, Andy Goddard, and Suzanne Einstein to discuss past, current, and future destination marketing efforts. I know we've talked about it a lot, but the Start One Up Roadshow is going to be next Tuesday at Washington College. Anybody who can attend, you're encouraged to. It's a free event to attend. It starts at 2:30. We have details on the website and also on social, and it's been sent out through the newsletters too. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. The next update is just on the micro ag grant. The Ag Grant Review Committee has been reviewing and judging the 2025 applications, and we're actually meeting Monday, the 14th, to go over the scoring and determine funding allocations for the recipients. And Judy Gifford is actually on our committee, so thank you again, Judy, for helping us with that this year. A couple updates on upcoming meetings. Jamie and I will be attending the META conference, the annual conference in Cambridge, which is the 27th through 29th this month. And also Shallon and Rose will be attending the DSN Outdoors Expo, which is the Delmarva Sports Network. Right, okay.
It's the same network that does the Outdoors Delmarva, which I've showed you guys segments that we've done with them, but they're having an outdoor expo in Harrington.
Yep, so they'll be at the Delaware State Fairgrounds, April 25th and 26th. We did get updates made to the visitor's guide and got that packaged up and sent to the printer yesterday, and we should have those in hand before the end of the month. And then the last thing that we wanted to share, on behalf of, oh, perfect, thank you. On behalf of Rose, she's very excited to share the driving tour passport. The passports are currently being used for the Washington College Academy of Lifelong Learning, the WCL, spring semester, and will be used for the Museums of Kent driving tour on June 7th and 8th. So each museum has its own unique, colorful stamp, and we have like a sample one here. The stamps have already been distributed. They're really cute, though. I'll pass them around. So they can stamp for, yep.
Cool.
So as people visit the museums, they can get their stamp, and during the driving tour, participants can receive prizes for the completed passports. Rose wanted us to mention that moving forward, there are discussions with the Museums of Kent Board to allow businesses to advertise by way of an insert that would just be added into the passport. Raven Bishop with Washington College Digital Scholarship Museum Partnership, which is also known as DSMP, will be using the passports for a pop-up museum at a middle school in Sabrina Park tomorrow and Friday. And the DSMP program has completed work with 5 of the current museums and is starting to work with Massey Air Museum this semester. And as previously mentioned too, the passports were part of the Maryland Heritage Area Authority grant that Rose submitted back in January. So,
What were the dates of the driving tour?
June 7th and 8th.
Okay. And is the Washington College WCL, is that a course, is it just given to them as a handout, or is there a course that's focused on Kent County or something, or?
I don't know the specific course
So,
details.
I'm gonna try this. WC All is the Washington College Academy of Lifelong Learning. So basically, it is a semester that people can sign up for. It's not for students.
No, I know that, and there's courses.
Is there a
There's
specific
courses.
course
So
for
this, the
museums?
spring semester, they pretty much go to one museum a month around the county.
Okay.
Is how they do it, or maybe it's 2 museums per month. Like I know the next one coming up next week, they're gonna have, one class is gonna be held at Waterman's Museum in Rock Hall in collaboration with the Visitors Lodge at East Neck Island. I think the last one they held at Betterton. So they kind of bounce around to the different museums, so.
So anybody who takes a class can go
Yeah.
to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And these passports were provided to all of the museums already to have for the driving class, or the driving tour, but also in preparation for this current WCU class. So everyone who is attending WC All can go to each class, each museum, and get them stamped as well.
But it's not everyone attending WC All, it's a particular class offered through WC All.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I believe to, anybody who wants one of these, they should be at the visitor center, right?
Yes.
So you can pick one up at the visitor center, and also all the museums have them too. So anybody who visits the museums, if they want to participate, they can get their passport there. So,
Cool.
all right, so that's all I had for our staff report, if anybody had any questions. Oh, we also wanted to mention too that the MITA primer is going to be held May 22nd, in case anybody's interested in attending that. We can send out the information on that too.
What is the MITA primer?
They have it every year. Actually, where's the biter zone? So. So every year, the MITA Primer for Economic Development in Maryland offers those new to economic development and veterans of the industry the opportunity to gain further insight and strengthen their knowledge of economic development in Maryland. So it's, they have different speakers. It's a one-day event. I'd have to double check to see where it is this year. I want to say it's like DHCD. But we'd be happy to send out the information for that. You can't, with DHCD and, is it? It's across the bridge. I can get the information for you guys. I don't think you can register for it quite yet, but as soon as that's live, we can let you guys know if anybody's interested in attending that. I have attended the last few years, and it's always pretty interesting, so.
Is there a fee?
Yes, I don't know the fee without looking at it. There's a member fee or non-member fee, but we'll be happy to share that information.
On the entrepreneur thing, that's
Start
gonna be
One
it. Start One Up, that's sponsored by the college.
So it's a collaborative effort between Washington College, Kent County Economic Development, Queen Anne's Economic Development, and Cecil, and then also Upper Shore Regional Council. So the space is, Washington College is donating, the space and the venue for it. The seed money, the prize money is from Upper Shore Regional Council, and then all the moving parts putting together is.
Do you have a number of entrepreneurs identified now?
Yep, there's, I believe, 8 that are gonna be pitching.
Okay, so they give a pitch.
They do.
For a business.
Correct.
And then they're judged on their pitch and they can win a prize.
Correct, so
money.
first prize wins $4,000 and runner-up gets $1,500. What they'll do is they'll go on stage and pitch to the audience and the judges, and then after that, they actually go down to the Start One Up Maryland bus and they get to record their pitch. So then they kind of have that they can use for future, efforts with growing their business. And they're all at different stages too. Like you might have a business that it's just an idea in the conception phase, and then you also might have somebody who's already, a startup and they're looking to grow and expand. So there's always a nice wide mix of ideas.
Great.
All right, and then I think Shallon's going to go ahead and go into the scorecard presentation for us.
I am, and Katie, I think I handed you copies of the presentation to hand out.
I think there's 3 right here, so they're a little lengthy. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the Economic and Tourism Development Strategic Plan Scorecard for calendar year 2024. This is a list of the goals that were identified in the 2022 strategic plan. And then the first thing we're going to talk about is create a welcoming entrepreneurial environment. So one of the goals that was identified was to double the number of entrepreneurs that were utilizing the Chestertown Hot Desk location by December 31st of 2022, sorry. So you can see in the end of 2023, we had 12 members. The end of 2024, we had 10. I will mention that as of this month, we did have 3 new members join. One is a part-time member for the shared space, but we actually had 2 full-time people rent the 2 available private offices. So we do have more than what's listed here for this year. The 2025 goal is to maintain 10 to 12 members until phase out of the county operating hot desks by the end of FY26. Create a welcoming entrepreneurial environment. So there was a goal to visit each new business in Kent County to introduce county services and assistance available through the Department of ETD. In 2024, we visited 21 businesses. So an example of some of those I'll just mention was KRM, Ford's, Radcliffe Mill, Dixon Valve, Wildly Native, Be Crafty, Chop Tank Electric, among many other ones. To develop a buy local program in Kent County or in partnership with the Upper Shore Regional Council by December 31st. So our new goal and discussions for that, we're hopeful to have some sort of program or at least discussions of a program December of this year. Another one of the identified goals was to target 25 employers to touch during Business Appreciation Week, invite commissioners and senior staff to participate. So the BRE visits that we had were 33 in 2024 versus 34 in 2023. Sorry, it's a lot of 30s and 20s the name.
And when you say you're targeting employers to touch, what does that mean?
Connect with.
Visit, meet with, help them with anything that they need. Some of the meetings that were identified were some of the things like that Rose has helped with helping with the tax portal, things like that. Katie and Jamie answer questions on incentives that, we offer. So anytime that we have a meeting or a visit, that can help them grow or expand or, maintain is, what we consider. We also, you guys should be aware that we distribute a monthly economic development newsletter. The goal was to increase circulation by 15% over 2023. So we well exceeded that goal with a growth of 41.5% this year. So as of the end of 2024, we had 774 people that were signed up and receiving the newsletter every month for economic development. That is after hard bounces and inactive users have been removed. So our HubSpot identifies those users and they are removed from that list. So you will see numbers over time kind of fluctuate over the year up and down some. Another goal was for business attraction and targeted industries. So the goal was for maintain Kent County presence with 6 ads annually in site selection publications identified by the IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Council. Both 2023 and 2024, there were 9 ads placed. Some of the outlets that were used were the Business Expansion Journal, Expansion Solutions, and Trade and Industry magazines. Another goal was to attract businesses in targeted industries, attract 2 major businesses with a minimum of 5 employees in 2024. That was 5 businesses. Those included Little Lemon Leaf Diner, It's Masala Time, The Flying Decoy, Label Shopper, and Starbucks. Attract 5 small businesses with a maximum number of 5 employees. In 2024, we identified 11 businesses. It is Well Artistry, Bay Breeze and 2, Campbell and Furnish and Law, Common Thread Interiors, Liddy Campbell Real Estate, Naughty Blue Cottage, Slack Tide Yoga Studio, That Place on Main, The Sewing Room, The Sooty Dog, Wrench and Socket Organizational Strategies. Develop an educated workforce with the skills and training required to meet the needs of current and future employers. So one of the things that our office does is we attend the quarterly American Job Center, also known as AJC partner meetings. Due to some scheduling issues this year, we were only able to attend 2 this year, but we did attend 2. Another goal was to increase internships by 5 employers annually. Here is a list of current internships that are offered. Caldwell Banker, Chesapeake Real Estate, Rock Hall Landing Marina, Chapman Vac and Sew, Greenpoint Farms, Animal Care Shelter for Kent County, High Street Vet Practice, Fairhill Farms, B&K Farming, Walgreens, Washington College, Chop Tank Health, Community Center, Parks and Rec. And then also there are internships available through Kent County Public Schools at Glean Elementary, WKHS, which is the radio station at the high school, Garnett Elementary, and at Kent County Middle School.
Who are the interns and how do you attract them? Who does
I was going to
that?
say, I mean, I know we work with Dan King at, is it Dan? Mr. King at the high school for that? Is it Dan? I'm thinking Dan DeVillio. Mr. King at the high school is who we get all of our internship program from. Brett King.
Okay, so the high school is really advertising essentially.
Yes.
The available internships, and you're assisting in identifying
Businesses that might want to, like we're
businesses
trying to
that can
help
provide
recruit.
it. Okay. Just trying to figure out roles.
Yeah. Okay, so we have developed an educated workforce with the skills and training required to meet the needs of current and future employers. One of the goals was to add 1 business to the apprenticeship program annually. The State Department of Labor continues to restructure, so we now have 1 apprenticeship representative for the entire Eastern Shore. There were 3 youth apprenticeships added in 2024, which were Brickwood Homes, Modern Stone Age Kitchen, and Trident Marina. Kent County Public Works is also participating in the apprenticeship program for state licensed water treatment facility operators. These positions have been traditionally difficult to fill with qualified candidates, so they are working with that apprenticeship program, which is good. Identify workforce development opportunities for employers and assist in recruitment through job fairs and postings. So our office works with promoting workforce training grants to businesses personally, also in the economic development newsletter and periodically on social media. We promote job fairs and job postings weekly on our economic development social media, which currently has 7,588 Facebook followers. Develop an educated workforce with the skills and training required to meet the needs of current and future employers. There was a goal to develop a survey of business needs and share the results with those people partners who train and educate by June 30th of 2024. We did complete 8 BRE survey interviews. Consolidated results were shared with the commission. Another goal was to maintain, someone from the education sector as a commission member. Currently, we have Dan DeVillio, who is our liaison for Kent County Public Schools, and he attends meetings regularly and shares updates, as needed. Schedule an annual KCPS update with the administration. So Jamie and I actually met with Dr. Mary Boswell McComas a few months ago in 2024. We had a meeting actually at the Dixon Valve Warehouse Conference Center. And it was a meeting with some other stakeholders in the area. It was a very good meeting. And then I think we have a meeting with her, with the superintendent of public schools comes in every year and does an update. So Jamie also wanted me to ask if something that you guys would be interested in, we could get her, on one of the upcoming agendas, I think for August or September, right, Katie, is where we have our next opening September. If that's something you guys were interested in, we could reach out to the superintendent and see if she'd be willing to come in and do an update, with public schools.
Folks?
We'll wait till Charlie comes back and.
Yeah, that's fine. We have time. So just
Yeah,
something to think about. Formalize communication process, annual marketing plan, and consider the placement of articles in local media outlets. So that is actually something that I worked and complete during the budget process every year. And it kind of goes in consideration with the directives of the Maryland Office of Tourism Development. Continue to utilize in-house resources where applicable for marketing efforts, develop an identifiable brand across economic and tourism development. Staff has been trained how to utilize Canva, HubSpot, et cetera, to create print ads, digital ads, social media assets, visitors guides, rat cards, et cetera. Another goal was to develop a Contact Us webpage with staff contact information and photos by June 30th of 2022. So this goal has changed a little bit. It is to be completed by December of 2025, along with the new website design rollout. We are also moving away from a Contact Us page, and each department will have an About Us page where you would, how to contact the department, basically. So it's a little different how we're going to do it. Same with the children's activity page. That kind of got tabled just with the new website being worked on. There wasn't really a need to do it now with the old website. So hopefully the goal will be completed December of 2025 with the new website design rollout.
And that include like all of the wonderful camps that we have in the county?
That is what we are hoping.
Yeah.
Everything for kids to do is
Yeah.
what the vision is for that page. This is the same kind of slide as the economic development newsletter. This is specifically this is the visitor spending, I'm sorry. So this is to increase visitor spending annually by 2%. So right now, we're at 112.6 growth over 2019. This information was taken out of the page 62 of the 2023 Tourism Economic Impact Study, which we also have available. From 2022 to 2023, those numbers pretty much stayed the same at 72. And then I also want to note that that data is a year behind for the Tourism Economic Impact Study. So while this is the 2024 scorecard update, the tourism numbers are going to be from 2023.
What do the percentages mean on that? I don't get that. The red line, what is that?
I wish Rose was here.
Well, she can explain it later.
Yeah, she can. I think that's just the growth.
It's growth versus loss, or?
Yeah, it's growth versus loss. So where the red line drops from 2019 to
I see.
2020, that's your COVID year. Big
Got
jump
it.
up in
Got it.
2021, a little bit, down for 2022, and then we kind of maintain for 2023.
Got it.
So another strategy to continue.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Sorry. Visitor spending, where are you getting this information from? Like, how do you know?
It's from the Tourism Economic Impact Study that's done by the state of Office of Tourism and all of the DMOs every year. It's a complete compiled report for state tourism spending, and then it breaks it down by counties. The money comes from lodging tax, sales and use tax. There's a bunch of different components where they get these numbers together, and we have the report. I'd be happy to share, with the group. It's a very, very comprehensive report, but you can go to page 62 and get to the Kent County portion, if you want. In the very beginning is the state portion, but I'd be totally fine to send it out.
I'm just wondering how many visitors do they know that are like our attraction areas that are coming spending money at the attraction area? Like, I don't know. I guess I can just think of like the wine, they come out to the winery, they're visitors to the area, and how much money they're spending each year at the winery.
Yes, so all of that information all comes from basically the taxes that, are paid, and that's how they get this information for a report. I'm sure there's a much more scientific explanation for how they do the math on that and the formula, but I know that's the basic version of how they do it. But I can send it out, and then if you have any questions, we can kind of go through it.
Yeah, because they somehow have to extrapolate who's a local going there and who's a visitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to have a formula or something?
Yes, there's a formula for all of that. So the next slide is we encourage organizations to list their events on the county website. So we have organizations or businesses request an manager account with us. So what they can do is they can request it online. We give them a username and a password, and they can submit our events for our county calendar, which we will then take and use some of them for our newsletter or for social media postings. So the end of 2023, we had 55 managers for events. The end of 2024, we had 90. And I will say so far this year, we've had a lot more of them. The new website rollout, it is expected to be more user-friendly with the goal of allowing anyone to submit an event for approval without requiring an events manager account. So basically, anybody can submit an event, it will come to our office, and we'll be able to approve it from there instead of having to go through the process of they submit a form, IT sets them up with a username and password, we send it back to them, then they submit an event, then we approve it. So that's the goal for the new website. Continue to promote Kent County as a desirable place to visit. Increase county event awareness across larger geographic area by listing annual events on regional sites. So we actually post our events, our larger annual events, on different websites, including Maryland Office of Tourism Development, Recreation News, Co-op Living, County Lines, MTC, which is the Maryland Tourism Coalition, Blue Ridge Outdoors, Delmarva Public Media, Guest Quest, and What's Up. Another goal was to promote events on social media and in editorial content. We currently, right now, the tourism page has 6,079 Facebook followers, and we post on there regularly. We actually have a part-time social media person in our office, Christina Highland, who really assists us with our keeping up on our social media postings. The tourism newsletter had a goal to increase circulation by 35% over 2023, and at the end of 2024, we had increased it by 45.4%, and that also includes removing any hard bouncers and inactive users that were removed. Facilitate delivery of visitors guides and partner guides, maps to tourism partners across the county and state. So we work with continual fulfillment when requested and proactively reaching out to partners throughout Kent County, the region, and 47 visitor centers across the state of Maryland. So when we end up, we're getting new visitors guides by the end of this month. When we get those in, we will put a bunch of boxes in the car. We will take turns and drive around and make sure that, the hotels, the businesses, restaurants, whoever wants them, the visitor centers have the updated current guides. We also, Rose specifically contacts all of the State Visitor Center in Maryland, calls them to see if they need more, if they want more. We do bulk mailing and send them out there just to really, spread the word out and make sure they have current information. So support the enhancement of current and future infrastructure. So support the Housing and Transportation Coordinator in efforts to enhance housing options, workforce, senior market rate, and encourage homeownership. We know that position was not funded in FY25. However, our department has continued to attend meetings to stay informed. So in 2024, we actually attended 2022 meetings in relation to that. Some of those examples were meetings with Delmarva Community Transit, Department of Community Housing and Development, MDOT, Rural Maryland Council, with specifically the Rural Housing Committee. Jamie and I participated in the Rock Hall Transportation Committee, and then there was also a few meetings with the Kent County Homelessness Coalition. We also schedule an annual Kent County real estate presentation with Ms. Cindy Genther, which she just presented. Well, she presented in February of 2024 for this particular purpose, the presentation, but we also just had a presentation from her recently. Promote utilization of existing infrastructure and identify infrastructure improvements needed for businesses to locate in Kent County. As projects are identified, monitor needs, engage in conversations with partners, and bring issues forward to the Economic and Tourism Development Commission for evaluation. Efforts are ongoing with that. That's something that our office is constantly working on.
We really, I don't think we've had discussions here about issues that you've identified in the course of those conversations. Is that something you're planning to do going forward?
I mean, we can. I think issues, have been kind of brought up, or just I don't know, more specific, like a roadblock that someone runs into with a different commission or a different department or permitting or anything like that. That kind of stuff has come up, but I I think it's really handled on like a case-by-case basis, but I can run it by Jamie and just see if there's, in general, a conversation we could have, about ongoing issues kind of as a whole to bring up
Yeah,
towards the group.
I think in the past, we've had conversations on the commission about the commission getting more information about issues, roadblocks, opportunities, on more than a case-by-case basis, but sort of, here's the bigger picture.
Yeah, as a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can definitely just pass on to Jamie and,
Ties into the next slide, too.
Right.
so same thing, yeah. So this one is as projects are identified, it's the same conversation about evaluating proposed development projects such as Chester River Bridge Crossing, US 301 corridor, which Dan really just spoke a lot to that, which I thought was really good. Develop a marketing communication plan to establish and strengthen partnerships. So this slide specifically speaks to meeting annually with each town's mayor and council. So in 2024, our team actually met with each of the mayors for all of the towns and also attends the COG meetings. And we also had some mayors that came in and did presentations for some of the ETDC meetings that we had. Another thing that our office does is we attend business association meetings, and then we always come back and report back to our team. So in 2024, we attended 33 of those. Specifically, when we say business association meetings, we're referring to the Downtown Chestertown Association, Greater Rock Hall Business Association, and the Main Street organizations in Chestertown and Rock Hall. We also continue communication and partnerships with regional, state, and federal partners by attending meetings, workshops, keeping abreast of programs and legislations that directly affect the business community. In 2024, our office attended 205 of those meetings. Some of those include Upper Shore Regional Council, Eastern Shore Heritage Area, Chesapeake Country All-American Road, Department of Commerce, Upper Shore Workforce Investment Board, and the Museums of Kent, which Rhodes attends Museums of Kent meeting every month for us. She's our museums liaison.
Shailen, there, all of these numbers relating to meetings, is each citation of numbers individual, discrete meetings? So you have 33 meetings plus 205 meetings?
Yes,
Plus 19, plus 24?
Yes, these are separate.
Okay.
Yes. So like specifically, the business association is that we attended 33 of DCA, Rock Hall, Main Street, collectively. And then the partner meetings is like the 205, which I said was WIB or Upper Shore Regional Council.
Rural Maryland Council, too.
Yeah. So the next slide, which speaks to Paula's number of 19, the Director, Economic Development Manager will attend all Maryland Economic Development Association, also known as MEDA, meetings. So in 2024, Jamie and/or Katie or both attended 19 of those meetings. The Director or Tourism Manager will attend all Maryland Office of Tourism or Maryland Destination Marketing meetings. In 2024, I attended 24 of those meetings.
A lot of meetings, Jesus.
Yeah, that's what we're doing a lot of the times is having meetings. So the last three slides, I won't read them all. These are just highlights that were identified as things, that were accomplished by, our office in 2024. If you guys want to read through them, if you have any questions, be happy to answer when I can. You can also take feel free, I printed it for you guys to take home. You can have whatever questions you want. If you want to shoot any of us an email, it's something that we can, answer back, next month. We can revisit that if you have any questions on any of the numbers or any of the things discussed, because I know it's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, a lot of data kind of thrown at you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
One question I have is, what is the MDOT Warden Track Safety Project?
I do not have, Katie, I don't know if you have any information on that.
We're going to have to circle back with Jamie on
Yeah,
that one.
I think that's a Jamie question.
Okay.
Do you want to write that one down, Katie?
And I'm assuming this $5 million was leveraged over the period 2020 to 2024? Is that?
I would imagine,
That's the-
yeah.
So, and I'll just add to, some of these were initiatives that may have started in 2023. These highlights were actually pulled for a commissioners workshop that all of the departments were doing. And Rose went up first for us at that meeting, and then there's so much stuff, they decided to kind of like reevaluate it. They want to potentially highlight what all of the departments are doing across
Sure,
the board,
sure.
whether that's something that maybe it turns into like a monthly article in the newspaper where it's, this month it's featuring economic and tourism development. Next month, maybe it's highlighting public works projects. So that's where all of this came about, but we felt that it definitely summarized a lot of the major projects very well, so we wanted to include it in the scorecard.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you didn't list all those meetings this year. Color-coded, that was so much work.
I mean, we have them and they are
don't want it.
color-coded,
I don't
but
want
we won't print them and
I
give
don't
them to you.
need
But
that,
trust me,
yeah.
Rose has them color-coded in all the spreadsheets. That information is there. Does
I'm
anybody
not
have any
saying it's not there, I'm
questions?
just glad you didn't print it, yeah.
No. Does anybody have any other questions?
No, this is very good.
Okay.
No, you've done a nice job.
Thank you. Rose put it together, so she's the one.
Okay.
I gotta go.
I don't have any items for updates. I think we ought to wait until Charlie gets back for plan updates. Are there any agenda items for the May meeting that you're aware of?
We do have Zach Royston with the hospital. He's scheduled to be our speaker for May.
Okay,
And then the other agenda items I do not have on hand.
all
We'll
right,
carry over the priority and that should be.
Absolutely, yep.
all right.
And then
next-
unfinished can also be if anybody has any questions,
yeah,
based on that
yeah,
scorecard.
unfinished bits.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I mean, really, if you want over the next couple weeks, like check it out and read it and shoot us an email. And then we'll kind of have a list of, questions and we can give you guys, some answers to them.
Okay, since there's no public in attendance, are there any questions or comments from folks online? Judy?
No questions or comments. Thank you for the presentation, Shauna.
Okay. David, are
Not
you?
for me.
Okay. All right, we'll call for adjournment. The time is 4:25.
Yes.
And motion,
To adjourn.
do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
All right. Thank you.
We thought Rose was gonna be here today, but she
Got a better offer.
she had